Recently I found myself in a massive rabbit hole trying to fix the indicators on the Jeep. So let's have a look at where I went with it, because it was bizarre. Hey guys, my name's Daryl and welcome to the channel. Today, indicators. Yes, they started to stop working on the Jeep. You'd be sitting at the lights or something with your indicator on and they'd flash a bit then stop, and it didn't matter whether it was intermittent. Sometimes they'd work, sometimes they wouldn't. It could be the left, it could be the right. The hazard lights always worked though, so I thought, oh, it must be the actual switch on the column that's on its way out. The contacts must be bad or something. So I was just having a look around online at what flasher units and switch gears, where I could get them from. None locally at all, apart from second-hand ones from wreckers and the like, which I'd probably prefer not to get at this point of time. So I thought, well, the easiest way is to replace the flasher unit. Now, to get this module out from the steering column, you've got to take the plastic shroud out. There's 2 screws underneath the shroud. Undo that and you can have to just take the top off it. From there, there's 2 T20 Torx screws on the top of the column. Unscrew those. At the back you've got a wiring loom connector for your blinkers and one for your headlights. They have a locking tab on top which you may have to push out too. My headlight one I didn't have to, the blinker one I did. So once you've got that out, the whole module, if you undo the tilt piece on the column and push the column down, the whole module will come out, and from that you can just wiggle out the flasher unit. Now the flasher unit is a 5-pin thing that looks like this. It's got part numbers, so you'd think it would be a fairly simple thing to fix. I went to my local auto parts. There's 3 or 4 major players here in Australia. They all went through much the same catalogues that I'd gone through online. There is no listing here in Australia for a flasher unit for a 2005-2006 Jeep TJ, unfortunately, which was a real pain because, you know, and I had one guy say to me, oh, well, this is 5-pin, it may work. Why don't you just buy it and take it home? And it was $50 to $60 just to buy, and it was like, yeah, not doing that. And another guy suggested, well, he was quite good and said, look, leave it with me for a day or two and I'll make some phone calls and see what I can find. And at that point I thought, no, I'll just order it from Rock Auto, which I probably should have done in the first place. So I got onto Rock Auto and I've ordered a new flasher unit. That's a WVE version. The part number is 1R2018. More on that later. I then purchased a new headlight switch. If you look at the Australian version, when you pull it out, it's as such. There's a part number on the back, which when you do a search on that part number, a couple came up and they all look like this. A lot are from wreckers, a lot of second-hand on the US market, but that's what they look like. However, the actual wiper unit comes off these. So when you get onto Rock Auto, you just buy the headlight switch, headlight indicator, blah, blah, blah. There's 2 types. There's one without fog lights and there's one with fog lights. Now, stupidly, because I was just sitting on the lounge watching TV aimlessly one night, I thought I'll just order these parts. And normally when I order any part from the US, I take the part out of the vehicle or I take photos of it and I compare the 2 parts online. There's normally a photo representation of the new part that you're buying. And doing it that way, you normally get around any issues, but we'll look at that in a moment. On the way out, I've paid for express shipping, which I normally don't. This was on the Thursday morning. These parts were delivered to me on the Sunday. Yes, on Sunday, on the weekend. It was just unbelievable how quick it was. So if you need parts from Rock Auto very quickly, up to the express shipping, and you will have them within days. I was amazed at how quick they were to get here, especially when the only guy that could really help me locally was saying to me that I'd have to leave it with him for a couple of days to look through part numbers. So anyway, when I received these parts, I installed this in the vehicle, wired it up, and it didn't work. And it was only then when I looked and compared the two that I found out in the Australian market, we actually got the fog light switch, whereas if you turn the switch and pull it out, it turns the fog lights on if you had that option. I don't know if the wiring loom in the vehicle is the wiring loom for the fog lights, but we've got the fog light switch here in Australia on the 2005, 2006 models, and not the item where you don't get fog lights. So with that, I thought I'd pull the new one that I'd bought and see if it was the same inside as the original, and I'd see if I could rebuild the original. Now to get this off, you just take this back off. There's two screws, one here and one there, that you undo, and then you can just very carefully prise this off. Now on the back of this, you've got some traces where the contacts go, depending on where they are. You have some parts that you can replace. That's this bit here for headlights. So you can take that out and replace that. That's got some contacts. There's this piece here and the piece under that. They all just lift out, and they're actually identical from the non-fog light version to the fog light version. So I've put in all new contacts, put the back on it on the OEM version, put it in the car, and it was the same. Now the flasher unit that I bought, it's a WE version. It's part number 1R2018. Now, whilst I was trying all the different things with, you know, new blinker units and rebuilt blinker units and the old blinker unit, I've put this in at different times, different combinations, and this worked. This worked with the blinkers would work, the hazards would work, everything I thought was hunky-dory, until such times I turned the engine on and the relay in this just clicked on and off incessantly, as if the blinkers were on, but they weren't. However, I thought to myself, well, at least I can now use the vehicle again. All the blinkers work as they should. I've just got to put up with the incessant noise inside. But I did work out that if I opened the roof, turned the radio up, I couldn't hear this. So we've got by for a week or so while I was waiting on some new parts with regards to that. Now the new relay, it's Novita LM470 and it's for LED lights. So if you've got some LED blinkers in the vehicle or the like, this will stop some of the issues that you have. But this actually worked. The only thing I find with this is if I'm driving along and put the blinkers on, works perfectly. If I'm sitting at the lights, every so often it will just slow down ever so slightly and speed up again. But it works perfectly. I've got no problems with this. So this was the outcome that I've found, whether you're in the US or locally, for a flasher unit. The WVE one that Rock Auto listed didn't work. So for me, that's the outcome for that. With regards to the flasher unit, I also purchased, because it was like, this was like $70, brand new from the US, so it was cheap as chips. So I've purchased one of these with the fog light option. This works perfectly. So if you're local in Australia, you've got a TJ 2005, 2006 model. I've got a WVE version. I thought I'd try my luck with the switch because the relay didn't work. That is the part number. And the part number is 1S2949. This has worked perfectly. I just thought while I was at it, let's just replace the whole lot and I shouldn't have to worry about it again for a while. When I did pull the unit apart, the original unit, all the copper traces at the back were really dirty and everything, so I had to clean those up, and I just figured it's probably a good idea to buy a new one. So with this, how do we transfer the blinker switch? There's two screws on the front, and with those out, you just slide the unit to the side and it comes out. And to put that in the new unit, that also just slides in, and you put in your screws. And basically then it's just putting it in the vehicle. And with that, you can see the type of rabbit hole I've gone down to. Locally, I can't find parts apart from second-hand parts for these items. You really need to get into the US market, and these are the parts that I've found that have worked for me this time in the US market. So I hope that helps someone. That's it for today, guys, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.